Well, guys, the day before officially launched today, and it is an absolute disaster. I gave the game a good hour and a half shot, tried it, tried to record some footage of it, and my gosh, the game ran awful. But despite how bad it ran, the servers aren't working. Go figure. Spend $40 and you can't even play the game right away. What a disaster. On top of that, it just feels like a scam. Oh, that's what everyone's been saying, right? It has been a scam since the start. Maybe, maybe not. But technically, there is a game there, and it is somewhat playable. I was able to do one successful raid, and I was actually able to kill one player and like 2 or 3 zombies. But my goodness gracious, this map is a disaster in terms of zombie density. There is like no zombies on the map. Players are far and in between. The rumor is that there's only 32 players on the map at all times, but the map is actually quite large. However, I don't even want to play the game anymore because I'm getting like 30 to 40 frame. Even though I have an i7 13700K and a 3070 Ti, it feels like it doesn't even matter. The settings are lackluster, basically have nothing there. We can see here on Steam with an overwhelmingly negative 2,198. I'm sure that number will go up even farther, making this maybe even the worst game of the year. Worse than Golem, worse than that King Kong game, probably. Let's say you're interested in the game and you bought it or you're watching people play it. You'd be lucky to even get into a server. You got to pick a server, join into it. Once you get into it, if you get past the connection issues, you then can create your character. You create your character, and then you spawn into the Woodbury Colony, which is kind of like that main central hub. But then, for whatever reason, the game already starts to act out, and you can't even leave the room. It's like the F key doesn't work, the door doesn't work, and you're stuck in that room for multiple minutes until randomly the door will work for you, and you can actually exit the room and begin your quests. The first 30 minutes to an hour is basically running around inside of Woodbury Colony, talking to different survivors, and eventually giving you to your first set of quests, which is basically going around and finding random stuff out into the city. It all sounds good and dandy until you actually walk out into the city and realize that your FPS drops. There are basically no zombies. The shooting is okay, but there's no vaulting. The jumping is trash. Just about everything this game thought it had, just about everything this game said it promised, just doesn't have it. Let's take a look at some of the Steam reviews here because, guys, these are hilarious. This is probably my favorite one here. Shot a guy, game crashed, all loot gone, so no gun, can't melee, enemies don't stop chasing, so can't loot. Dr. Leonardo is kind of cool though, touched me in some special places whilst I was passed out, so a pretty well experience so far. Currently playing Server Browser Simulator. And that pretty much sums up what's going on here with the day before. It's horrific, honestly worse than I thought it would be, and I already thought it would be a disaster. It's worse than a disaster. Straight to prison for these devs, no trial, no jury. We got right here, this is not an open world MMO, this is a small area extraction shooter. The devs deleted all of the old videos showing the open world elements. The city is dead and there are barely any open buildings. There are no survival elements in the game because it is based on being an extraction based shooter game like Tarkov. Shame the game could have been the next DayZ. I would not recommend buying this game. Most of the city isn't open anyways. Yes, let you guys know, there is no melee in the day before, so if you run out of money and you don't have a weapon, you can't use a melee weapon, you can't use your fist or do anything whatsoever, so you're forced running around in hopes to maybe loot a dead player's body or find a weapon. I mean, good luck with that. We got a funny one here. It says, turns out it is a real game. Kind of wish it wasn't. And I'm going to be right there with him. I almost wish it was just an absolute flop or just continued to delay because what an actual joke. LMAO, not an MMO, not open world. Lying about the genre is a bad start. It's a bad Tarkov with zombies, barely any zombies. We got the day before refund. We knew that one was coming, but it's true. This is horrible. I refunded it, never again. This one here says it's a dumpster fire. It's always going to be bad at release for any game, but this game does not even have functioning settings. Try changing resolution, I dare you. No, please don't do that. If you guys get into the game, do not change the resolution. It absolutely destroys the entire game. It's insane. I just don't understand. The day before you got scammed. The day before you got scammed. It's an absolute garbage game compared to other games that it's compared to it. Developers clearly were not prepared. Gameplay, it's nothing like the gameplay footage shown. Zombies are typical in line of sight, growls rush straight at you, nothing crazy. The crashes and random deaths are insane. Regardless, devs had so much time to correct and prepare for its release, and it's constantly marketed this as something that it is not. Guys, this game is not good. Do not buy this game. Don't fall into the hype. The hype has already died off. Streamers are not playing it anymore. If they are, it's purely for that content moolah. It's nothing more around it. This game was basically a scam. Or you could argue that it wasn't a scam. It didn't take people's money. You saw the game. You could test it out and refund it. I definitely say refund this game, guys. Don't play it any longer than you have to. Seems like the game still isn't released. You get to create your character with very limited customization options just to get brought to a server list where every single server is full without the option to queue. There is no information for these servers, no indication on how many players can be in the same servers or account other than full or high, no information on server ping, and no option for community servers. That is true, guys. This game is so bare bones, it's kind of sad. At this point, I'd argue that it basically is an asset flip, and even then, they did a horrible job implementing it. It's pretty sad. This game needs another 1 to 2 years, maybe even 3 years in the oven, at which point it's completely irrelevant. Give this game over the weekend, if that, and no one will be talking about it anymore outside of how bad its release was, how bad the game's state is, etc. It's like Tarkov, but with mediocre PvP. What seems like AI voice acting, everyone seems flat and dead inside. You'll immediately forget the cast and wish for a 2D menu for respecking after a raid. It takes forever to run between spots to gear up. True. Do not buy this game. I have never left a review before and don't believe in bashing games for no reason. This game is nothing like they advertised. Do not buy. Spawned in with the flashing red screen, was getting mauled by zombies before I was even fully loaded in, and was pinned in between them and died. Alt F4, uninstalled, refunded, just like how everyone else is going to do it. I mean, basically, that's pretty much how my experience went. Feels like a cheap knockoff of Escape from Tarkov: The Division. Character movement is janky at best. Zombies can be bullet sponges, and of course the first person you see will kill on sight you. I can see where this is going, and it's not for me at this time. True to self, open world, except you just get dropped into a city. It's a mere extraction looter shooter with zombies, of which there are barely any. Game setters a lot too. Graphics have limited options, and the game looks blurry. Also defaults to DLSS being on, which is a red flag cop-out in my opinion. Scum for scummers. Refund and forget. This person says, I didn't listen and now I'm refunding. We didn't listen, we didn't listen, we didn't listen, we didn't listen. A lot of bugs, clunky, no melee. It is not an open world game. It is most definitely a looter shooter extraction game. Come back in a few months. Try, come back and never. My experience: joined a server 20 minutes after trying to join 40 different ones. Tutorial started, I immediately died while the NPC was still talking to me. Game loaded me back in, unable to get to the tutorial area. Back to the server screen for 20 minutes to join a server, completed the tutorial, went to the open world and received a fatal error. Side note, no melee combat, can't vault over anything, poor GPU optimization, no UW support, partial controller support, $40 for a buggy early access game? Nah, get out of here. The day before you got scammed, the day before refund. For every like this review gets, I will consume 1 spoonful of mayonnaise. Turns out it's a real game, kinda wish it wasn't, since nobody reads this anyways. I'm gay. The day before you came. Dear developer, I would like to inform you that the positive review has been delayed until further noticed. Are you wasting my money again, son? Just an absolute disaster, guys. I don't know. Have you guys bought the game? Have you played the game? Have you guys watched the game? It is just not good. It's not a good game. Go play DayZ. Go play Escape from Tarkov. Go play Lego Fortnite Survival, for crying out loud. Far superior games than this for little to no money or more money. Doesn't matter. They're just better. This is probably my favorite one here. Shot a guy, game crashed, all loot gone, so no gun, can't melee, enemies don't stop chasing, so can't loot. Dr. Leonardo is kind of cool though, touched me in some special places, whilst I was passed out, so a pretty well experience so far. Currently playing Server Browser Simulator.